A pleasant good afternoon from Painesville and welcome to K News Bulletin. My name is Emmanuel George. President Joseph Numa Boakai has reaffirmed the government's commitment to the armed forces of Liberia in providing the environment to train effectively, serve professionally, and live a decent life. President Boakai said adequate housing, proper sanitation, and a functional workplace are not luxuries but a fundamental necessities for a professional military force. The Liberian leader made the statement at the dedication of the Camp Grant military barracks by the Ministry of National Defense in Saninkole, Nima County during the weekend. For her part, Nima County Superintendent Miampe Gono noted that the positioning of the armed forces of Liberia in Saninkole is more than strategic because it is deeply symbolic. According to her, the presence of the AFL gives citizens comfort and it is an indication of their protection as the strength of the Liberian state is there with them. On Sunday, August 10, 2025, several members of the Esturo Nangbe United Methodist Church, located on 13th Street in Sinker, were prevented from conducting regular worship service amid an ongoing dispute with Bishop Samuel Choir. The congregation vowed to withdraw from activities of the Liberia Annual Conference if the church continued to follow the 2024 Book of Discipline, which defines marriage as an agreement between two consenting adults. Members argue that this definition could open the door to same-sex marriages, something they strongly oppose. As a result, the church members worshipped God outside the church fence. Bishop Samuel J. Choir repeatedly denied efforts supporting same-sex marriage. The Minister of National Defense has made her observation known that the dedication of the Camp Grant military barrack for the armed forces of Liberia is symbolic of renewal, resilience, and national unity. Minister Geraldine George said it is a bold testament to the government's commitment to strengthen security architecture in the country, decentralize the state's defense capacity, and build a professional, disciplined, and people-centered military. She pointed out that it is a realization of the vision where every county will have protection of the armed forces of Liberia. Minister George made the remark during the dedication of the Camp Grant military barrack by the Defense Ministry in Saninkole, Nima County over the weekend. In a related development, the Senate's Committee on Defense, Security, and Veteran Affairs has assured the Ministry of National Defense of the necessary cooperation in providing housing for members of the armed forces of Liberia. According to Senator Momosaros, the Liberian Senate will always work towards prioritizing the welfare of the men and women in arms. Montserrat County Senator Sir Joseph has alleged that the primary reason Moba Molu resigned from the former ruling Coalition for Democratic Change as chairman is because his life was at risk. Senator Joseph also alleged that Moba was drugged and recorded while he was naked for having differing views with some high-ups of the then ruling government. Sir Joseph also added that Molu had resigned based on the fact that some members of the CDC secretly recorded his background and linked the recording on social media. Senator Joseph also claimed that the assassin was allegedly hired to eliminate him. He added these claims when he phoned on the Spoon Talk show during the weekend. But in a reaction to Senator Joseph's claim, Mobab Malu, who is now the national chairman of the Solidarity and Trust for a New Day, denied the claim as falsehood. According to Chairman Malu, the allegation by Senator Joseph is false, misleading, and untrue. The House of Representatives, through its Committee on Concession and Investment, has reached a decision concerning the non-compliance of Hummingbird Resources Liberia Incorporated and its parent company Paso Fino Gold Limited with regard to their contractual and financial obligation to the government and the people of Liberia based on verified reports on and disclosures from the Liberia Revenue Authority and the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. The committee has established that Hummingbird has failed over several years to honor critical financial commitments, including taxes, levies, and concession-related social development funds. These obligations, which are approximately $3,485,000 United States dollars, are legally binding under the terms of their mineral development agreement and are vital for support and affected communities. The committee finds this prolonged non-compliance unacceptable and views it as a gross breach of trust, a violation of the law, and a clear act of bad faith toward the government and people of Liberia. The committee has provided the company a final period of 20 working days to settle all outstanding financial obligations as stipulated by law. Failure to comply with this period will result in the committee recommending the immediate termination of the mineral development agreement and the company's removal from further operations in Liberia. Three brothers, along with their father, are appealing to the public and government officials for financial assistance to underwrite their mother's travel and medical bill in India. The wife and mother, who is suffering from spinal cord disorder, is unable to move or care for herself. She was previously taken to Ghana for treatment after doctors at JFK Medical Center in Monrovia recommended she be treated outside Liberia. However, due to limited funds, the operation could not be carried out. According to the father, all funds raised were spent while in Ghana, leaving them unable to continue the treatment. They now need a total of $7,000 US to have the operation done in India. The Liberia School of Law will participate in the first regional ECOWAS Moot Court competition in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire from August 11 to 18, 2025. LSL will be represented by two of its students, Abigail Dober and Peace Kasu, who were selected through a competitive process. Peace and Abigail will join law students, mostly from West Africa, but also from East Africa, who will be arguing on hypothetical case that raises various international law and human rights issues. Other hypothetical cases include the extent to which allegations of official corruption, exploitation, and natural resources without the prior and informed consent of indigenous people and state tolerance of inhumane culture practices may present justiciable questions of states' violation of human rights and their treaty obligations as members of ECOWAS, the African Union, the United Nations, and the signatories to various international treaties. Peace and Abigail have drafted and submitted memorials before both as applicants and respondents before ECOWAS Court of Justice in human rights case brought against the fictitious African Republic of Muge. Abigail and Peace are also prepared to argue both sides of the case. The Ministry of Justice has praised President Joseph Numa Boakai for what it described as a timely and strategic decision to appoint the chairman and members of the board of parole, calling it a major step toward reaffirming Liberia's criminal justice system. In a statement issued over the weekend, the ministry said the appointments made a significant milestone in addressing prison overcrowding and implementing long overdue justice sector reforms. This landmark decision completes a critical component of Chapter 41.3, Organization of the Division of Corrections under Part 5 of the Criminal Procedure Law. The statement noted the organization structure now includes the Bureau of Correctional Institutions, the Bureau of Probation, and a fully functional board of parole. According to the ministry, reconstituting the board underscores the government's strong commitment to rehabilitation, restorative justice, and humane treatment of inmates. Created by an act of legislature in 1969 to 70, the Board of Parole ceased operations during the Liberian civil crisis. The collapse of the correctional infrastructure and the absence of a parole system contributed to chronic overcrowding in prisons nationwide. With its reinstatement, the board will review eligible inmates for conditional release, implement structural reintegration programs, and promote human rights within the penal system. Anti-drug campaigners have petitioned the Liberian government to overhaul the country's current drug laws, increasing the maximum jail sentence for drug offenses from 10 to 20 years and ensuring mandatory rehabilitation of all individuals apprehended for drug use, whether they are out on bail or already in prison. Communities are living in fear, despair, and hopelessness, they said. Every day, we witness the heartbreaking sights of our family and friends lying in the street corners like a living dead. Young people with bright future, doctors, teachers, engineers, and leaders are being swallowed alive by the scourge of drug. Across the nation, the same story echoes: marijuana, heroin, kush, cocaine, methamphetamine type stimulants, and intravenous drugs have invaded our land, destroyed families, and torn apart the social fabric, the protesters said. The Deputy Governor of the Economic Policy at the Central Bank of Liberia, CBL, Dr. Musa Dukle, has emphasized the critical role of accurate and responsible economic journalism in safeguarding Liberia's financial stability and supporting informed public discourse. Speaking during the opening of one-day training for journalists on monetary policy communication, Mr. Douglas warned that poorly framed economic reports can erode trust, trigger panic, and even misguide policy making. K News at 2, Emmanuel George. Good afternoon.